So I'd love to talk about your photography career.
Okay.
It's so inspiring to me, and I have watched it evolve from wedding photography to families and people, and you continue to travel and expand it. And I would just love to hear
Okay.
how it began. What was that call that brought you to it?
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay. So it's actually a very simple and funny journey. Um, and I don't usually use the word journey. I don't know why I just said that. Maybe because you've got it.
Yeah.
In 1997, 98, I was working for photographers. I was their rep. I sold their work. They photographed computer chips and forks and hotels and nothing really sexy. But I was in their studio all the time. And one day I got a magazine that had an article about a girl that was photographing weddings in black and white. And she was getting paid $10,000 a job. Now, at that time, I had never received a paycheck of $10,000 for anything. I don't even know what I made, nothing. But I was so fascinated. And, I had modeled when I was younger, well, in my 20s. I had been a stylist. I had done all kinds of things in fashion, but I was never really interested in photography. Modeling is not my jam. Either being a model or wanting to document models. That's not what my passion is. So I didn't know much about weddings at the time either. None of my friends were married. So I said to my sister and my mom, I'm going to be a wedding photographer. And I made my sister, who put on her wedding dress, and I made her model for me. And I took some pictures, and my friend John Hall told me how to use the camera. And I got these great shots. So I took those pictures to a local wedding store. And I mean, now that I know about weddings, I mean, dresses were probably, $80, $150. So we know exactly what kind of store it was. But I said, if anybody would take a chance on hiring me, I will shoot their wedding for free, minus the film expenses. And sure enough, a month later, they called me back and they said, this girl, her name is Anna, she wants to meet you. And she hired me. And so 6 months later, I was booked for my first free wedding. Now,
I did not know this. I mean,
you didn't know this?
No.
Okay.
I love
so
this.
The best part is this. Not more than 5 minutes later, I found out I was pregnant. And within 10 minutes, I was single. I didn't have a job anymore. I was trying to figure out where I was going to live. And I didn't even think about the wedding that I had coming up. And I kind of was a little scared. And through the love of my mom and my sister, they kind of helped me organize things. And I ended up going to shoot that wedding. I was practicing kind of before that and very scared. I did a fabulous job. I was big. My son was born in April. I was at that wedding, I think was in like November or December. So I probably was huge because I gained 60 pounds. And I shot that wedding. And from there, the whole thing started. And I had my son in April. And I took 3 months off. And then after that, did every free job and slowly would say, okay, that'll be $50. Okay, that'll be $75. Okay, that's $125. Oh, that's $130. And it just grew and grew and grew. I was shooting weddings and I was photographing families and babies and things like that. And then probably about 5 years later, maybe, I was getting $10,000 a wedding.
Wow,
It was
Christine.
insane. Now that was also filmed, so for anybody listening, it's it's $10,000, but you have $5,000 in expenses and 10 hours on the wedding, and but back then we didn't have to do editing, so it was just like you sent your money to the lab and we'd get the pictures back and hand edit and go, yeah, nope, 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 yes, yes, yes.
I remember your dark room.
I had a dark room
I
during my
forgot
pregnancy.
about that. You did.
During my pregnancy, as I was learning to photograph, my friend John helped set me up. I put a dark room in my bathroom in my townhouse, and I listened to Dido on repeat.
I love Dido.
And practiced. And after Matthew was born, I would print wedding pictures, which is insane as I think about it now.
Yeah.
But somebody would go, okay, we'll take 25 by 7s and 3 8 by 10s. And I would crank her up, and Matthew would be sleeping in his crib.
Wow.
And I'd print in the dark room in my master bathroom in my bedroom. And some of the best memories I have. Although I also have a tinge of going, wow, I was breathing in all those chemicals and putting my hands in it and things like that. So that's kind of weird, but it was really cool. And so now it's 26 years later. I do not photograph weddings anymore. I've retired. I retired from them, as you know, about 5 years ago officially. And I focus on portraits of women, children, men, whatever. I photograph families, and I do a little bit of just odd things like business headshots or commercial photography, anything that has a supernatural vibe where it's not like an art direction team with layouts saying, okay, it needs to look exactly like this, exactly like that. I just kind of go with the flow, and my clients go with the flow. And I have been lucky. My business is 100% referral. And I still photograph people that I've been photographing for 20 years. And I love it. And I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Well, I think what also is so inspiring for me is your photography is you. It's so authentic. And what you just described about it's not set up commercially, and it's not having an art director. And, when we shot a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to have you capture me, and they're my favorite photos.
Thank you.
My favorite photos, Christine.
Thank
At 42, compared to any other time. And to capture me at that age, which I look forward to doing more, but I felt I was captured.
Thank you.
So authentically and so beautifully. And that's what you do. I mean, that's what these photos are that are behind us. And these are timeless. These are from years and years ago. And yet,
what's interesting? I look at these and there are no teeth in any of these photos.
That's
like
true.
A big key with photography is once you add teeth, it changes everything.
Really?
It changes
I never
everything.
knew that.
Because this lovely lady is my niece Elle. She's now 24 years old. She was in 3rd grade there. Wow. But you can see who she is in that picture. If she was smiling, it would be a little bit different.
You capture the essence.
Thank you.
Of people. And it's done in such a raw and authentic and beautiful way. And I haven't seen it done anywhere else.
Well, that's because my whole goal when I started photographing weddings, you photographing regular people. What I mean by that is not models. And you were in the modeling industry, so was I. And I think the most challenging person to photograph is somebody who's a model, because it's hard to break them down and not have a model smile or a model face. My goal is to show the look that somebody's mom would recognize, or that we recognize of ourselves when we look in the mirror.
Yeah.
So modeling was a great, it didn't lead me to photography, but it has defined how I photograph. Because as a model, I was young, I was gorgeous, and I felt like crap most of the time.
Oh yeah, me too.
I felt terrible about myself. I was always worried if I was too fat, my hair, my skin. I would get yelled at to act more natural and trying to be natural. So what I
doing our fake laugh. And
yeah,
I mean, and it was just so, yes,
but it was
it's overly critical and it's hard to shake that.
I felt worse about myself when I was probably at my best than I ever did. So I take all of those moments and go, what can I do that photographers did not do for me?
Mm-hmm.
And that is I engage in conversation. We talk the whole time and I'm shooting the whole time. And it's that in-between moment of when somebody feels like, oh, this is the pose or this is the look or this is the vibe I want. It's really that moment just before or just after that shows who somebody really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I have just always done that. And my goal when I shot weddings was for maybe the girl and the guy that is not photographed all the time, which is different now today with cell phones and everything.
Yeah.
But back then, nobody had as many pictures of themselves as somebody does now in a 24-hour period of time. But I was like, I want to have the best picture of them that they have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And the best picture of their aunt, the best picture of some random guest. I always treated everybody the same. I had my clients, but I didn't ignore people because they weren't stereotypically like out there attractive and like stealing the spotlight and beautiful bodies and everything. I always wanted to show people who they are. And then the one thing that I probably instinctually knew and know now when I photograph people is that people aren't around forever.
Mm-hmm.
So an image of somebody as they really are is so important and will last a lifetime and many other lifetimes to people who really cared about them.
Yeah.
So, but the teeth thing is major. Children, if you ever take a picture of a kid,
yeah,
get them smiling because everybody does the
yes
now.
and we're told that smile.
Okay, now no smiling. And they're like confused, but you get an instant second of complete authenticity. And same with grown-ups too, because everybody has like their smile, everybody has their side, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like that in-between moment when somebody's not making an effort is where they're most beautiful. And
Wow.
I built an entire career. I bought my house doing that, and I'm so grateful and proud. And I've made a million friends. And
yeah, your friends are worldwide. Your clients are worldwide, and you've traveled all over.
I have
shooting families.
I remember when it's actually such a stupid story, but it's a good one. So when I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to date anybody again. I'm never going to get to travel again. I remember I was in St. Bart's once when I was way younger with a group of people. Everything was fabulous and cool. And I remember very specifically thinking, I'm never going to get to go to St. Bart's again. And then, I don't know, probably about 15 years ago, I was flown first class to photograph a bunch of people hanging out on the beach, having a party, having fun. I had the most beautiful hotel room all to myself, dinners by myself, which was heaven because I like time alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on that beautiful island going, wow, I did all this by myself and I'm being paid to be here and I'm not being a guest of a guy. And it was really, really a monumental moment for me. And I've just always remembered that. Yeah, I've seen a lot of things. I've always involved travel with work, meaning I typically do not travel unless I'm going to a job, but then I mix it all together and it's really good. So
I love that. And I love that you've been able to create what you're passionate about, have relationships, meet people. It expands naturally with the business because you're all referral based.
I am.
But you also having your boundaries and having your private time. So just noticing you saying that, well, I have my alone time. I'm not feeling like with my clients that I have to go and engage.
That is the key,
because that's hard as a business owner too. And what kind of gave you permission for that? Because I love it.
In my industry, I mean, I don't know really about now because I've been doing it long enough that I'm not really a part of what the trends of how to do things are. But I remember back when I started shooting weddings, it was really instrumental that you like kept up with the wedding coordinators or the florists or the hotel people, and that meant gifts and little coffees and lunches and everything. And I did not have time for that. I had a baby, and then after he was a baby, I had a toddler, and then a young kid, and then after that, I was just too busy and tired. But I've never bought any business ever. I just did a really good job.
Yeah.
And my customer service is better than my photography. My hope is. I mean, can't be perfect all the time, but I try. So I always like when I'm at work, I have very personal interaction with my clients, but I don't cross the line. I know that I'm at work, and I don't call people after a certain hour. I don't call them before a certain hour. I'm very friendly and very casual and very easygoing, but it's professional. So if I was shooting a wedding, or even if I was at a client's house, I'm not going to sit down and have a glass of wine with them after the shoot, unless I guess maybe there are some clients that I've now worked for so many years that, okay, let's have dinner. But for the most part, I keep it very, very separate. And it's funny because I think back, I started photography when I was 30, 31. And I had worked since I was 16 years old. I have worked at a gas station. I worked at an auto parts store. I worked at bars as a bartender, a PR person. I worked at a shoe store. I modeled. I was a stylist. I was in real estate. What did I do after real estate? Oh, I became a rep at a photo studio. And it was so disappointing and depressing because I was always good at everything I did, but not great. And I had no passion. And I remember having meetings with people like, how do you find your passion? How do you this? How do you that? And I didn't realize it until much later, but literally every single job I had led specifically to me doing my photography business in a very natural way. I never had to try. And what I mean by never having to try is I just knew what my task was. I worked hard. I completed it until it was done, but it was not fake. And I also never, by the way, faked that I was better than what I was. I always underplayed.
Yeah.
And then that way nobody would be disappointed. I always undercharged a little bit because I'm like, you're lucky to get it for that price. But it was so crazy because I meet young people now and everybody's trying to figure it out. And I didn't figure it out till I was over 30. And I really was discouraged because I was like, I'm never going to fit anywhere. And it was so divinely orchestrated because even modeling, remember modeling, you'd be in a bathing suit walking up to ladies eating lunch and be like, please come upstairs and look at the new collection, which is so hideous.
I know.
But I could do that, and I make a little turn, and so.
And you were professional, and you were good, and I can understand.
And it doesn't seem like valuable experience, but I can walk up to anybody and say, "Hey, can I get a picture of you? Do you mind? Like, sit here. Okay, just turn around real quick, and then be gone and deliver it, and everything is great." So. It's weird. Every single thing happens for a reason.
It does. It does. And I think what's really incredible about your story too is that, and I would say for me in my 20s, same thing. I felt uninspired. And though I was good at doing some things, I wasn't feeling passionate.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling deeply connected.
Right.
Like creatively and with something more. It was just more of being and doing. Yeah. And it was, in my late 20s and early 30s when I started finding more of that and working more on myself.
Right.
And understanding why I didn't feel worthy of tapping more into my creativity and tapping more into who I am. But for you, it sounds like it just arrived. I mean, with Matthew being born.
Yeah. I mean, that was, a very challenging time, like on paper. but it was the best time. It opened up all these doors that I had no idea. And I didn't know it was happening at the time, but in retrospect, looking back, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
And, I think for me, it's not that I wasn't tapping into what I was good at. I just didn't think I was. And I didn't really fault myself for it. I just was like, oh, I'm one of those people. I'm like one of those people that doesn't laugh hysterically at something. And I'm like, why can't I be happier? Meanwhile, I'm totally happy just looking and smiling in my heart at something funny, but I'm not going to be explosive in my display, and I've just learned to accept that about myself.
Well,
But
it's your authenticity, and that's who you are.
Yeah.
But I think it can be, at least from my own experience and others that I've talked to, it takes us a while to connect and embody our authenticity or to believe we're worthy of it. And for all the years I've known you, I feel like you have always been Christine, authentically you. And that's something that, like, you've just always had this amazing style, this amazing creativity. Your relationships and friendships
Thanks.
are just, they're just as real as they get. And I do feel that is shown through your business, your photography. It just kind of everywhere, including being a mom and parenting Matthew, who's now 26 years old.
Well, next month, 26.
So the evolution of motherhood and being a business owner, and I just think it's all really incredible. And yet you've always just fully been embodied you and your authenticity and your creativity. Yeah.
Thank you. It's funny because, I can look back on my life and go, because I'm 58 years old now. So I can look back and go, yeah, I see that. I see that. But each step of the way, I can't say that I felt it. And, I have always been myself, but by being myself, sometimes I felt isolated from things that I really wanted to be a part of, whether it's people or situations or whatever. Because even in modeling, like, people still today, they'll go, oh, what was it like modeling? And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't fun. It was. Yeah. It offered a lot of opportunity, but it didn't make me feel amazing about myself. And my photography makes me feel great about myself because I do something that I get paid for, and people love what they get.
You capture moments that they're memories that are captured and you have for a lifetime, like the photos behind us. And
thank you.
And I think that is such a special.
These guys are going to go for a while.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Hopefully,
there's leaf blowing happening.
Yeah, hopefully our noise cancellation will work. Oh, they're coming into.
They're going to be here for a minute. They like to blow things into my yard.
Well, they're
doing the other.
As we're talking about authenticity, we'll just allow it to blow through as we're having our conversation.
But and it's funny too. Like, life is about reinvention, because as you know, also 16, I don't even know anymore. Years ago, I was diagnosed with MS. So I have worked the whole time through it, but now, that many years into this little situation, it's a struggle for me walking. I'm retired from weddings because I photographed them for so long and it's time to move on. Mm-hmm. But it's physically challenging for me now. So at 58 years old, I've had this great career that now is having to morph into something different. And it's because of physical limitations that I have, which, like, I could go back and think about, okay, I'm pregnant now. What am I going to do with my life? That propelled me into something that, like, made my life for so long. And actually, as I'm saying it, MS is taking a few things away physically from me that have allowed me to do my job. And now I have to do it in a different way. And it's leading me somewhere new that I am right now in the beginning stages of. And it's intense. It's intense, but it's good. What?
Nothing. I love, this is incredible. When we hear the chapters and the evolution.
Yeah.
And also how your photography business has shape shifted with you from being pregnant and then doing weddings, and when you're ready to evolve out of that and with MS and being able to still create it so it can work with you, because some people don't have that, with career opportunities. And so I think it's
That's
really
true.
beautiful that you've been able to design it and change a little bit of how it works, where it still gives you what you love, what you're passionate about, provides for you financially, and doesn't have the MS.
It's really funny because now, I mean, not maybe, for sure, getting older makes you less self-conscious of what people think. So, I mean, I've got some jobs coming up next month that I was like, yeah, I can come, but I need a golf cart.
Good.
Which was like a little bit embarrassing. They're like, of course, anything. And I'm like, well, how cool is that? I'm going to sit in a golf cart. I'll jump out of the golf cart, I'll do my shots, get back on the golf cart instead of walking these like tremendous amount of steps. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's leading somewhere very cool. Although I don't know where it is, I feel like I'm kind of leaning into trusting it. And oddly, I feel like my work has gotten better the less physical effort I have, because I have to really like make things so cool just by being stable.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a challenge. I mean, I think I used to go to photo workshops and they'd be like, okay, I want you all to photograph all day with one lens and your body the exact same height and see what you get. Which you're like, that's weird, because you be up high, low, change to a long lens, go to a short lens. And I guess I didn't really realize that's kind of what I'm doing now. I mean,
yeah,
because I can get just as much now sitting in a chair that swivels as I could 10 years ago running around the circle. Now I'm the center of the circle. Wow. Yeah, there we go.
how cool is that? And I think also being able to bring in the additional boundaries of, I'd like a golf cart. It's when I come, I'm going to have my time. So it seems very consistent in your business that's evolved over the 20 plus years.
Consistent, but internally it's like up, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah. It's sketchy. It's crazy. It's annoying. But then it works out. So actually, as I'm saying this, I just need to remind myself more too, that the next moment that comes up that is really all over the place, that it has purpose.
It has purpose.
It has purpose.
And it will unfold as it should.
Life goes fast.
Yeah.
Life goes fast.
And you just updated your website.
I did.
Which is gorgeous. I feel every iteration of your website is amazing. But
Thank you.
Yeah. So what inspired that? Like, this was just where you just get up new photos? And
I have been wanting to create a blog on my website for 10 years, but I have never gotten to it. So I have engineered it in the reverse. I created a new website that has the word journal up at the top.
I saw that and I love it.
You click on it and it says coming soon. And I hate that when I see that, if it lasts longer than a week or two. So I thought that will inspire me. And also at the bottom of my website, it has subscribe, which I've never had anything like that before, but I figured that will also kind of light the fire for me to get something done, because I would like to teach photography. Yes. And trying to kind of figure out exactly what that means. Is it to regular people just photographing because you love it, or your children, or self-portraits, or is it to people who are new in the business, or even in the business a long time? Because, teaching photography, in my very strong belief, is never about teaching style, because everybody has their own style, but it's just teaching the tools that you use. And that doesn't even mean technical on cameras, because I'm not a technical shooter at all. I don't even know how many megapixels my camera has, but I know how to get the same thing over and over and over again by choosing certain light, or having people wear certain wardrobe. And then the most important part of photography, which is all the back end, now that it's digital. It's the uploading, downloading, storage, delivery, processing. I mean, we are our own labs now, and we need to be very responsible for it. And I am very consistent. I have systems and formulas that I have used since the first day that I photographed digitally in 2012. I've used the same system to this day. I was editing this morning, and it's
Wow.
the exact same system. I've never changed
So when you say
anything.
system, what does that mean?
So I switched from film to digital in 24 hours, and I was a very busy shooter then. And so I hired a friend of mine, this guy, Jared Platt, who is do you know what Lightroom is?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a Lightroom, whatever, guru guy. He came to my house and he showed me how we took some sample digital pictures. He showed me how to take the card and put it in the slot. And then I took notes. He said, okay, then you're going to do this. And there were like 5 moves in Lightroom. And he showed me from the beginning to the very end, exporting it, and then how to archive it so that you can retrieve the images down the road. And I wrote all that down, and I would read it that next morning. I had a digital shoot, and I have never shot film since. It was
Wow, that is impressive.
because it was terrifying, but
well, yeah,
you can't like do half of some and half of the other. I'm like all in or all out.
Yeah.
So I still use Jared's exact same steps. The only thing that has maybe shifted a little bit is like how I do my black and white, or how I create my color images. That kind of varies, but not too much, because I try to keep my images similar to what they looked like 10 years ago, because I make albums and prints for people, and I don't want it to look dated other than maybe their hairstyle or whatever, but I want my photography to be consistent.
Yeah.
So the systems are, it's the exact same way. I photograph, and then I upload these cards, and then I put it in this little folder, I put it in that little folder, I do my edit, I download, I archive, I send to that. It's really very easy. But when I was starting, I didn't know anything about digital. I don't think I was even really texting that much in those days. I was very analog. I still call people.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of young friends, and they're like, oh, that's right, you like calls. I'm like, yeah.
Well,
call me.
Yeah, it's good to have phone conversations.
Yes.
But it's nice to hear that systems and processes, which for me with my business are needed. I'm a very free creative spirit, but I actually need more. If I don't have consistency in processes, then I don't follow through.
If you don't have a process, it's hard to be creative.
It is. Isn't that interesting? Because I think I thought in order to expand in my creativity to not have any rules and for it to be so open and fluid. And I found that I get like in this neutral phase. But when I have consistency, and even like you said, putting a journal up and having a subscribe down there, something to hold yourself accountable is huge.
Yes.
And those things offer for fluidity and just to be able to create something but deliver it, versus just, for me, I think I have a lot of creative ideas, but I have a hard time following through.
It's like everything. It's like I am obsessed with minimalism. I am not a minimalist, but I am obsessed. And the reason is, and I actually am way more minimal than I used to be. So what I've learned from people that teach that and tout how great it is that the less stuff you have, the more free space you have to think, and the more free space you have to rest. Because if you're always like trying to like tidy up for whatever, a job that's coming in or people coming over, you're not really enjoying the whole process. And so I feel like the systems that I have, like even in paying my bills, I am one of those people, I get a bill and I pay it 5 minutes later. I don't want to crowd my brain. I don't want to have to think about it. And I do that with almost everything. And then I never change, so that then if somebody says, oh, we didn't get your payment, I'd be like, yeah, that's probably not true. Maybe check again. Or oh, it's a problem on the bank's end, or because I do the exact same thing every time.
Because that's how you operate.
Kind of like pricing.
That's-
I don't shift my prices around. I mean, it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to go, what did I say? Because it's pretty easy to get yourself in trouble.
Absolutely. I do think it's important to talk about when you shifted from doing free and then having your prices, and you mentioned a little bit earlier that you were charging less than what you were providing.
Right.
But you did make that shift, which was huge. And I think it's important when you start charging the value of your worth. When did you
That's interesting.
do that?
You know what? I am opposite of most people, and I am absolutely opposite of what the standard narrative today is for photography and photographers. And perhaps it translates into other jobs too. But now, if you are we'll speak photography specifically, it is all about knowing your value and charge what you're worth. And people believe that they are worth X number of dollars, which they are if they have experience, in my opinion. But it takes a while to get to that experience. Now, people can get a lot of money. People can get a lot of money to shoot a wedding, or a portrait of somebody. But is it duplicatable every single time? So what I mean is, when I started shooting weddings, and for years, and probably even now, I will charge a little bit under what I know my value is. Actually, it's not totally true now, but up until very recently, always a little bit less, because then I never felt the pressure. And there was an over delivery there, always, because you could pay more and get less every single time. Some people might say that was maybe an insecure choice and pathway, because maybe I was scared to charge more. But it just was the same every single time. And I would slowly raise as things shifted, but not every month or 2 months, maybe 2 years later. Okay, now
you raised when it felt true for you.
Yes. And then it was still always probably a little bit under what I could have received, but then I would have felt this extreme pressure, and it was enough. And now, I mean, I can get some very, I don't know, like nice prices for things, but it is literally worth I always in my business use the absolute best, let's say, materials. So like if I make an album for somebody or create prints for somebody, there's anybody can print and frame now online. You just like send them a JPEG and blah, blah, but they're using cheaper materials, blah, blah, blah. So I still use the best papers. I go to a place where there's an actual person that prints it. I really care about people having jobs. I go to a frame store where we look at frames and with the image, and it's somebody having a job. I still care about all that. With albums, my albums cost more than what most other photographers would be willing to spend to make a book. But they're being paid for the quality of their work and the years of experience they have doing it, and I care, so I charge accordingly. But every material I use is usually the best one you could possibly buy, unless, and it is in some cases true, that something is really expensive and it's just a smokescreen.
Yeah.
But you figure out who that is.
Yeah.
And, but I care about people having jobs and doing things that they want to do. So it's even now, like in photography, the big thing is to fill out forms. And if you're interested in me, pick a date to shoot with me and tell me what you're looking for. And I'll have some AI, whatever form newsletter sent back. I don't want to be like that. No. And perhaps the way that I do things is only going to last for a certain amount of time, but I'll be gone by then.
So, well, I think it goes back to authenticity.
Yeah, I care about people.
Part of your core values.
I care about communication. I care about, like, when I photograph somebody, we don't walk in and start shooting right away unless it's a child and they might have a breakdown. So let's get it going. But I want to know why somebody is doing something.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will translate instead of it just being my vision.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how I feel your work is.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is absolutely. There's your vision, but your vision is illuminating the individuals and their truth and their essence and their love. I mean, when I see the family show, it's just you feel it. You feel it through the photos. And
Thank you.
it's incredible. And I love hearing the whole process and how it's continuing to evolve for you, how you're adapting it so it is supportive with you with your MS and going forward. And do you feel now that at this stage with how it's unfolding, you're not having to put a heavier workload on yourself? I mean, you own this home.
It's less.
And now, so when I hear that you have your journal and the new website that you've put up, so now you
have
the ability to write.
Yet,
but I think that's what's so great.
True.
It's not like you're hustling anymore. You've created
100%.
This incredible life that's unfolded into a place of more, what to me feels like more balance. More time for you and time to do what you love.
The thing is, it is more balanced, but it's more balanced out of necessity, not out of intelligence. Mm-hmm. I wish that I had the intelligence to be at a slower pace sooner, and perhaps I would struggle less in legs. Because like the whole MS thing, and I don't know exactly what your beliefs on it. I'm not going to say that I caused it. I mean, things are real. Medical issues are real. But it's not lost on me that certain things I deal with are because of anxiety or just, it's not about, I ate bad food or anything like that. I mean, it's just all of the little things that go together, which is now what my life is about taking care of everything that's in that pot together while still working, because I have to. I've got another, let's say 5-8 years. Yeah. But I kind of lost my train of thought there. What was I thinking? I'm looking at those birds, but go ahead. Sorry.
This is a little off track from photography, but I think it's so cool because it just shows your not only creativity, but entrepreneurship and how you see value and opportunity in other things. Your Airbnb in the back. That's so cool. I'm like, we have to talk about that.
Now we got passion.
I know. Look at you. You're like, ooh.
Actually, yes.
Maybe this is your journal that you're going to write about, because I think this would be fascinating to learn.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
blog post.
This is actually the best thing. So I live in a very beautiful house, and in the backyard, I had this very beautiful, little studio space and a beautiful yard. I'm creating beauty around here all the time, but I live alone. My son is grown up. He moved out. I don't share my house with anybody, and I'm not really an entertainer. I'm not the girl that's going to be like, come and have a party. I'm not really into that, actually. If I could get people to come over for coffee in the morning, that's the best. But the rest, no. So 3 years ago, I had a job in, Northern California, and I booked an Airbnb, as I do when I travel. And I pull up and I accidentally realize I have to knock on this lady's front door, and I booked a room in her house. I was mortified. I mean, as nice as she was, I'm like, because I want to be by myself, whatever.
Yeah. Not knowing it was a room, you thought it was a house.
It turned out to be the best experience in my life because I made a new friend. She was so cool. But she was telling me about this Airbnb thing and how she does it, and I was like, I have this little space in my backyard. I should try that. She goes, yeah, it's really fun. You meet really nice people, la, la, la. And she told me exactly how she structured her Airbnb. She does not allow people to just book. You can't do what is called instant book. You have to tell her why you're coming and what your point is. And she reads your reviews and then she lets you come. She goes, do the same thing. You'll be fine. I came home. I put a little kitchenette in my space, and I created this lovely little bedroom that I would be happy to sleep in. And I have now been, I'm a superhost. I've been an Airbnb person, whatever, for 2.5 years now. And I make great money. And every day I meet the most incredible people.
Oh, how cool is that?
They tell me, they send me a request. They have to tell me why they're coming. And I go, oh yeah, you're coming to a wedding, you're going to the Grand Canyon, or, getting away, whatever it is. And then I look at their reviews and I'm like, okay, that's a nice person. And then I accept it. And then everything is beautiful because people are afraid of Airbnb, understandably. Like, people can have a party or they're weird, but somebody that is a little bit off is probably not going to want to tell you why they're coming. They'll just move on to the next.
Oh yeah, they're not going to want to divulge more info. And so that's right. I love the guidance that you got from that.
It was
the first person you Airbnb'd with.
So good. She told me
she had a process.
Her name is Kiki, and my nickname is Kiki. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. And
synchronicities.
I just actually allowed somebody to have a little teeny wedding in my backyard on Saturday with the bride and the groom and their children, and that was it. And I was like in my bedroom, just like looking through like the little sliver in the curtains, and I was like, wow, I'm not the wedding photographer. I'm not a model. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm just sitting here enjoying it, and it was amazing. And it was my way. What my point was is that I have this beautiful property with really amazing energy, and it's my way to share that with people. But we don't have to be like hanging out. I say hi. Yeah. They can text me if they need more coffee or if they want to know what to do. But if I never speak to them again, I'm okay with that too. I just want to provide a beautiful place. And actually, I didn't know it, but I would say I'm more passionate about providing a good experience to my Airbnb people than I have been about anything my whole life. I always am like, oh, in another life, I must have been, or in my next life, I'm going to own a little boutique hotel or something.
Well, I think it is probably follow through of your attention to detail through photography and your customer service that you offer with photography. So it probably naturally filters over into the Airbnb because it's innate for you.
True, but it's also, you know what? Actually, yes, because I photograph people the way that I want to be photographed. Mm-hmm. And my Airbnb is the place that I want to stay in.
Exactly.
Because I have gone to the most beautiful cities. And I'm like, where do I get a coffee? How do I turn the air conditioning on? Or these sheets, or whatever.
Yes, and I am that way too. I'm particular about where I stay.
In there at a very normal price, and it has little pieces of my travel that are kind of like around, and I care about it. Like I have my favorite rug in there, which people would say, don't put your favorite rug in there because somebody can destroy it. But it's the best rug I've got, and it looks amazing in there. And I have my most expensive chair in there because, gosh, when I, go on a trip somewhere, I want to feel awesome about where I am.
Yeah, and experience new things and items that are, because I've been to some Airbnbs that are nice and they're clean, but it's mostly like IKEA furniture. Nothing wrong with IKEA furniture, but when you get those unique pieces, if they're blended in, it's an experience.
And that is exactly the word. It is an experience. And what my photography is now, what my goal is to make it an experience. And I think that I probably didn't have that language before, but it probably always was.
Yeah.
Because I've always done things a little non-traditionally. When I started shooting weddings, back then, I remember a very prominent local wedding photographer was mortified that I did not wear closed-toed shoes to shoot the wedding, which I didn't even know what he meant by that, because I was like, yeah, these sandals are cool, but he told somebody and they told me, and I was like, wow, it was just a very different world back then. I mean, it was, I started shooting weddings, it was in 1999. So, 98, end of 98. I mean, it was just very different. And it's all about experience, because I have been in the most beautiful places in the world with the chicest people and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really having fun. And then I will be in a place that's not really amazing, but the experience is great, and then it becomes amazing.
Yeah.
So I try to keep that in mind in everything that I do. And another thing I learned from John Hall in work and all of it, he uses the word, it's not a dog and pony show. You know, you don't need all of the bells and whistles to have value. So when I photograph, I have a camera. And that's it. Maybe my assistant now who helps me walk, but we don't use reflectors, artificial lighting, or it's all natural. My Airbnb, I mean, it's just simple, clean products in there and not a lot of stuff, not a lot of gadgets. There's nothing fancy, but it's really nice.
It's really nice. It's quality.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to speak to before we wrap this up? Because this is pretty
No.
incredible.
I mean, I can talk forever and I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
To be done right
we
here.
just need to do it again.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing and
Thank you.
inspiring, and not only me, but I know so many others that are going to be tuning into this. And
Thank you.
that's what I think this is.
You're amazing.
Thank you. I love
I
you.
have loved you, but